welcome to Shattering Myths. My name is Larry. I'm setting in for Yada. William is co-hosting with us today.
Hey, Larry. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Hopefully we'll shatter some myths. Shattering Myths is dedicated to exposing the corruptions of religion and political myths and patriotism, militarism, and hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on some of that. It's not too hard today, would you say, William?
No, it's not. But, you know, it's worth nothing if the audience doesn't take down some notes and maybe call back, seeing that this is pre-recorded. They can call back and ask Yada some of their questions. You know, he's always willing to take on any question anytime during the program, so I'd like to encourage the listening audience to do so.
Okay, well, first of all, I've just been going through some of the news that's out there today. I see Bill Gates is slated to meet with 80 senators at the Capitol.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, what's that all about?
Well, it's showing how we can all get along. It's on Thursday evening. The group, it's called the No Labels Foundation. Imagine that, okay? It'll be sponsoring to meet up between Bill Gates and some 80 senators, as well as New York Times conservative columnist David Brooks. I'm surprised the New York Times has anybody they could even call conservative. It's a group that's dedicated to finding solutions to the crippling dysfunction and gridlock that we see today, you know, from the political actors. Well, you know, compromise is what really the art of politics is all about. Mm-hmm. I believe this strongly, you believe that strongly, so we'll meet in the middle, well, where supposedly we disagree, right?
Right. Okay.
Well, that's a great way to get things done. That means you believe in nothing, I believe in nothing, and we just move forward,
the whole
believing in nothing
mentality. Yeah, the whole coexist mentality. You know, the bumper stickers you ride around, you see the coexist. You know, they have the Star of David and all of these different religious symbols on their bumper sticker, and so in essence, that's what this meeting of the mind is all about, isn't it? Coexistence.
Well, I guess it is. It's about a belief in nothing, you know, other than the fact that, you know, if you're a political actor and you're out there making a grip of a salary while you know, consistently work against your constituents.
Okay.
You know, these people go in there, they make, I don't know, what do they make in the House today, $174,000 a year? Every one of them come out of it multimillionaires. How does that work?
Right. I don't know. But on a brighter note, at least Mark Rubio was out down in South Florida doing his civil duties, and he was a juror, I believe, or attempted to be one. I guess that's a big deal. It's all over the news for some reason.
Oh, because he actually sat in on a jury trial as a juror?
Yeah, so,
okay. Yeah. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
I see that today unemployment for illegals may be lower than the unemployment in the black community. Just lovely. So we've got illegal aliens coming in, basically taking all the jobs. Here's a headline I like. TSA agents to eyeball bus passengers during a security exercise. Isn't that a lovely idea? As you get on the bus, you'll have government people watching you and looking at you, perhaps patting you down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's all due to the Patriot Act, isn't it? Wasn't that a big part of why we have TSA today and Homeland Security and so forth?
Yeah, I guess so. It says the exercise is being led by TSA Mass Transit and Passenger Rail Division. They now have a rail division.
Wow.
Authorities have refused to release any details, asserting only that passengers should expect to see increased security at bus and transit stops. So now, I guess when you walk up to a bus station, it'll seem very Orwellian, like when you walk into an airport, you have this voice saying, suspect everyone, don't hold any packages that aren't yours, and don't have any liquid container over 3 ounces. You ever notice when you go to the airport, I'm like, it sounds like a sci-fi to me. I mean, it's outrageous.
Yeah. To make you lift your arms up, you walk through that machine, you're violated because from what I understand, they get to see everything. And I mean, one lady went ahead and just decided to wear a bathrobe and a bikini to get through the system efficiently. So, it's a sad,
I think she was probably being a little sarcastic there. I see a...
No, that's a true story, Larry. There's no sarcasm there.
No, she was being cynical is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure. It was the Patriot Act author says CIA spying is almost Nixonian. Almost. They recorded last month over 2 billion phone calls. What do you mean, almost? They make Nixon look like a piker, like a Boy Scout or something out there. These guys are they're getting outrageous. Apparently, there's a little brouhaha going where the CIA was spying on one of the oversight committees of the Senate Oversight Committee for the CIA.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty outrageous,
Yeah.
The heads should roll. This is from the Washington Examiner. Heads should roll at this CIA of Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Dianne Feinstein, Democrat of California, proves that intelligence officers hacked her staff's computers as part of a dispute over a committee report on waterboarding, Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, told reporters. There's an incredible arrogance to me that the CIA thinks they can spy on a committee that is providing oversight for the CIA. I think it's very real, and I think it's a very serious constitutional breach, Paul said, outside the Senate chamber Thursday. This cannot happen in a free country. And he's right about that. It can happen in a free country. But then again, in a free country, you don't go up to a bus stop and have government officials eyeballing you and looking at you and patting you down either. So I guess that's an admittance that this is not a free country, which, of course, it isn't.
Well, I consider it more of a subliminal dictatorship, but I guess that's a topic for another day. Let me ask you this, though. I think that, well, at least, my experience as of recent, a lot of Americans, or a lot of my American friends, don't seem to have a problem with that. They don't mind, like, their privacy being invaded. They don't mind it. They're like, I don't have anything to hide. It's going to make America a safer place. Why not?
Right. You give up your safety for, I don't know, you give up your freedom for safety, I guess.
For safety, right.
Yeah. And of course, anytime people, it's a historical fact. Anytime you consolidate power, what rises to the top is the criminal element in a power structure. That's how it works. There's nothing new about that. That's the way it has worked for centuries. One of the favorite quotes that I have that I truly enjoy was written by Yahowah.
Okay.
And he talks about, he says, under the guise of liberty and equality, under the ruse of dignity and rights of man, under the facade of diversity and choice, under the hoax of enlightenment and sharing, errant opinions pontificated by purposefully deceptive statesmen will usher in an area that obliterates all of these things. And he's right. You know, today we live in a fabricated economy. We live in a fabricated system, and it was all put there by political actors that were pontificating deceptive words that they just unloaded on the people for years and years and years until people bought into them.
Wow.
That's, I guess, how you get people to walk out in lockstep with their hands reaching in and out of their pockets at regular intervals to go down to town square to vote themselves another tax increase.
Yeah, or provide foreign countries with money that we don't have, like the Ukraine.
Well, I doubt if anybody went out and voted for that, but they did go out and they did vote to empower people to abuse them.
Right.
And to use their money in building mosques all over the world, or funding AIDS projects in Africa, or you name it. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, we have all these people here in this country just, broke and on welfare. How many people do you think are on welfare?
I have no idea. It's in the millions.
It's 50.1 million people on welfare in America.
Interestingly enough, William, as we were going off the air, you were talking about, or going off to the last commercial break, you were talking about 50 million Americans on welfare. And the number of native-born working-age Americans who aren't working has shot up to 50 million. That's up by 9 million since the year 2007 and almost 15 million since the year 2000. So by late 2012, roughly 50 million native-born working-age Americans are not working. Up from 40 million in 2000 to now 50 million. Still no evidence of a labor shortage.
Right, right. And, last time we did the show here, I mentioned that I have no issue in helping people who need assistance, but I want to clarify something, Larry. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in helping anyone who's willing to stay home and do nothing. People who feel entitled to these monies that we work for daily. If a guy like Larry Hendricks lost his house or was going into foreclosure after paying it for 28 years, and you just hit a hard rock because your employer let you go, I got no problem helping Larry Hendricks out. I really don't. I think that's what we're supposed to do. But that's not what's happening here.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a mentality. It's like, is stealing okay?
No.
If you're and yet, if you look at the Torah, if we're to observe the Torah, we see theft as a really bad idea. It's going to lead to bad things. And yet there are people with a mentality today that is totally anti-Torah. It's a complete opposition to the Torah. You know, they think that, well, somebody owes me, somebody's wealthier than I am. You know, I own a company today, and I have just, you know, a half dozen people that work for me, but, you know, that work for the company. And I pay them better than anybody else in this industry. But I have to tell you, you know, some of these people were people that worked side by side with me in this business. And the difference, the reason I own a company and they don't, is that I worked a lot more hours than they did. You know, I paid dues when they didn't.
Right.
You know, that's how this works. You know, that's called getting ahead. And, you know, when you see people that they feel like they want to punish anyone who, you know, has achieved some modicum of success, and they want to bleed that success off into, you know, their home, while they do nothing, you know, that's theft. It's theft.
It is, and it's unfair, and, you know, it's definitely a morale buster, I'll tell you that much.
Well, it's a mentality that pulls all the averages down, is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll see the same thing with the school systems. You know, where does a child get? Where's real education? Where does that take place? It doesn't take place in your public school system. It doesn't even take place in your private school system. Yeah, it takes place at home.
That's right.
You know, that's why you can have 4 kids that come from one home and they're all successful and they were all straight A students, and the very same school produced kids that were just, you know, illiterate.
Wow.
It's because somebody didn't push education at home or being educated. I don't push the education system. I never did. But yet I've got 4 kids that are very, you know, they're educated kids. And it's because they took it upon themselves to become educated. Big difference. You know, we can put it off on somebody else or we can do it ourselves, right?
That's right. That's right. And the sad and unfortunate reality about this, and I wish more people would study the Torah, is that our answers are in the Torah. They're right there. All of our answers are right there.
And it doesn't promote theft, that's for sure. Welcome back to Shattering Myths. We're discussing some of the hot topics of today. Here's one: ducks dying from starvation as lake ice on Lake Michigan cuts them off from their food source. So we see global warming continues. It's hard for me to imagine that people can believe that driving their automobile down the street has something to do with how hot it is out that day or how cool it is out that day. It's amazing to me, really. You know, the facade that we all need to continue to worry about what a handful of people calling themselves scientists who are really bureaucrats in the UN have to say about the weather due to the fact that Americans are driving cars down the street is outrageous. I mean, if people can't see through that flimsy facade, I mean, the moment I heard this, I thought, what is going on? This was, 15 years ago they came up with this story, or 10 years ago, whatever it was. I was amazed that people were buying into it. I was also amazed how quickly it filtered through the school systems, speaking of uneducated people in school systems, where they began a full court propaganda press trying to get people to believe that, the sky was falling. What did you make of it when you first heard it? I thought, this is outrageous,
Well, look, I really believe that we can't hurt the planet Earth. We just can't. Maybe we could set off some nuclear bombs and that'll do it, but I don't think through pollution we're gonna destroy the planet. I just never believed that. I mean, the Earth, it has cycles and it cleanses itself, and that's what I think we're seeing. It's just going through another cycle.
Well, we're not really seeing anything other than over the last 15 years, the globe cooled by 1 degree or something.
Well, right, it's the complete opposite of what we're being told. I mean,
right. Yeah. Which there's more. I mean, there's more people on the planet. There's more cattle out there. There's termites.
Well, I can tell you this: all of my relatives up north, they don't feel that way. I mean, they're going through it this year,
Nor do the ducks over there in Chicago.
Exactly.
They're all starving, because they can't get to the fish because the lake's still frozen in March.
Right.
So the global warming concept, though, it becomes obvious what it is when everybody starts talking about taxing. That's the answer. Now, can you imagine? You're going to pay more in taxes, so you're going to be turning over more of your dollars to a government bureaucrat, and then that's going to cool the earth down.
Right.
I mean, if that's the answer, you're asking the wrong question. I mean, that's the insanity of it. We'll charge more. We'll charge you more. Therefore, the sun won't be as hot. I guess.
Yeah, and look, the whole green thing and all of that's just another gimmick for people like Al Gore to make a whole lot more money.
Well, it's a ruse. Yeah, they've used it. They've used the secession of global warming to tell people that taxation and regulation is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is that taxation and regulation serves to strangle an economy. That's exactly what it does.
Right.
It's not the kind of thing that serves to advance freedom or prosperity. It works in the exact opposite direction. So all the things that we love and the things that are near and dear to our heart, like prosperity and even peace, these things are disrupted by giant governments. To my eyes, the most troubling part of the humanist socialist conspiracy is the absurdity of their irrational positions. For example, to believe the notion that a one-world government or socialist state would be a triumph for human nature, for the environment, for peace, for productivity, for equality, or for freedom requires complete historical illiteracy. Experience tells us the larger and more communal the government, the more these things are sacrificed.
Right, and that's just the thing, Larry, that the average person doesn't want to think for themselves anymore. I mean, they really don't. A lot of people are in favor of this whole one world government concept. Really, they are. It's sad.
Yeah, they're probably the people that tell us that we wouldn't get it, whatever it is.
Right. Right.
I mean, they've limited the debate is what they've done. Is they said, well, let's go ahead and let's have this large-esque debate within certain parameters. But when you start to define, fascism on the right and communism on the left, and that's something I never got because they're both liberal uses of government, And in the end, they're both capitalistic, by the way.
Right.
Because they exercise complete control over all the capital goods, human labor, money, property. They only differ in who owns the property.
Right.
And that's something that's rendered moot in practice, and that control is indistinguishable from possession.
Right. And I mean, you've dabbled a little bit in the world of politics yourself, right?
Well, I did. Yes,
yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did. Uh-huh. Yeah, I worked on Fourth and Tenth Amendment issues. I worked with the tobacco lobby. I went in 3 states for them. I was telling restaurant owners and bar owners that they weren't going to, people weren't going to be allowed to smoke in their establishments. They all told me that isn't going to happen here. Yeah.
Well, they were wrong about that.
Yeah, well, we'll see about all that. The United States is really a socialist nation now. 2/3 of government spending is predicated on the communist concept of wealth redistribution, from each according to their ability, to each according to his needs. And that's where we find ourselves today. And yet we have a government that openly talks about spreading democracy and freedom, to other countries. And this justifies us being involved in every little war all over the globe, including, I guess, they're wanting to get involved in the Ukraine now.
Yeah, yeah. And I read today that we're planning on sending $3 billion over there in aid, and if we do, turns out that Russia's going to get a bulk of that.
Yeah. And who do you suppose that $3 billion goes to?
Right.
Putin and his buddies,
Yeah, that's exactly
another
what
party
it says.
for you.
Right.
Unbelievable.
But
it's kind of interesting as they the powers that be circumvent the globe, spreading democracy. What they'll do is they'll set up kind of UN beachheads everywhere and pour billions of dollars into it. And one thing you'll always notice around these places is everybody's still poor. Everybody's still uneducated. There's still no running water. But billions of dollars disappeared.
Wow.
Talk about graft and theft. I mean,
well, my thing again, and I would love to know where do we get this money from if we're struggling ourselves. But I guess that's something you and I will never find out.
Well, it's something. First of all, they don't even have to print it; they just put it on a screen these days.
Wow.
And then they just pass that money along to whoever they feel like. To their friends. I mean, that's what the UN is. I mean, it's just a big, it's a propaganda tool for the elite, to use as an excuse to invade other countries, or perhaps, I think 2/3 of all the, legislation they've passed or statements they've made have been made at Israel, which I find very strange. A country that makes up less than 1/10 of 1% of the, the world's
Right.
landmass,
Right.
and they spend all this time on Israel. I don't get this.
Yeah. Why do you think that Israel is such a, I mean, outside of what we know, is such a major interest to these countries?
I think it's a major interest to satanic forces. I really do. That's what I think. Well, I think that just serves as another example as to why Yahweh's words are real. You know, he said he'd bring his people home in the last generation.
Well,
You know, and after World War II, that's exactly what happened. You know, the Jews were tried to escape. They couldn't go into Russia. Stalin wouldn't let them. They couldn't go into America. FDR wouldn't let them. They couldn't go into England. So they were passed down through the Grand Mufti, and most of them murdered. And the rest ended up in the country of Israel today. You know, in the Yada wrote a piece in the goddamn religion section of Yahowah. And by the way, Yada means to know in a relational sense. That's what Yada means in Paleo-Hebrew. But I want to read just a small paragraph here. After studying mountains of evidence and pondering the reasons behind the events we've witnessed in the past 20 years, I've concluded that the word social democracy is a term that has been engineered to perpetrate a vile scheme by way of deception. Social does not stand for sociable, but instead for socialist, the kind of liberal economic and political system America and most of the Western nations have adopted. This system and its brother, fascism, serve to effectively transition control from the masses to the few. While inept at creating prosperity, they're both effective at transferring wealth, something today's illuminists crave. The least understood and thus the most effective means of accomplishing this transfer of prosperity from the productive to those in control are the central banking systems, America's Federal Reserve Cartel, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, all controlled by the same villains, and the progressive income tax, the Internal Revenue Service, both of which were voted into existence in 1913 by those beguiled by the clandestine conspirators. Socialism leads to government dependency, and with dependency, the master's control. And that's what it's really all about today. It's about control. It's not even about the money. You know, the elite have more money than they can spend in 10 lifetimes at this point.
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of the taxation and a lot of the regulation are designed, I think, today to get us into groups within cities where we can be controlled. Now, I grew up in a little town, 15,000 people, that back then there were all kinds of farms, business was booming, you could do just about anything. But today it's a town of less than 3,500 people, and the only things there are giant corn factories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, it's definitely not the same America that I was raised in. It's changed a lot. And that's,
and of course,
disheartening.
and it's intentional. I don't believe that we have a bunch of inept boobs, as an example, that run out and pass Obamacare. I don't think that was ineptitude. I think that's intentional. And it's just
that.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, I heard one of the new talking heads come out and say there's not one economist that thinks that Obamacare has killed any jobs in America. Well, that's ridiculous. Nobody in a small business will hire anybody today due to Obamacare. And, that's really where your economy's at. 85% of all your new growth will come from small business. It doesn't come from major corporations. They're busy laying people off. So if you squelch small business, then you've really killed the economy, effectively, haven't you? I mean, I think this is the last nail in the American coffin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always felt that, and I don't have any hard evidence on this, but I mean, it just seems like, during Obama's term here, he's just, the belligerent spending and so forth. It seems to me like there's a strong effort to dissolve the U.S. dollar. That's what I see. I mean, it's like, I feel like sometimes, I'm going to wake up and tomorrow my money will be worth nothing, and it's already that way. I mean, but it's just, I'm just concerned about whether I'll have money in a bank account one day.
I think you have a good